Hello, lovelies, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of your favorite audio series, Unappreciated Treasure. Thank you for your continuous support. Please like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you and enjoy. It was morning, and Hank was fully recovered and back to his busy, solitary lifestyle. He sat by the window in his room, reading the daily newspaper as usual. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was Daniel. Yes, Daniel. What is it? Hank answered in a cold voice. Hey H. Why do you always sound like we're about to go to war? Why do you always sound like someone who is constipated every morning? Can I call to check on my favorite cousin? Daniel replied. Hank was not in the mood to bicker that morning. Gee, if you don't tell me why you call me this early, I will drop this call. Don't you have a company to run? You should either be preparing to go to your office or already on your way. Daniel sighed heavily. H, you could be so boring at times. That is why you don't have a woman in that boring life of yours. Anyway, please, I need your input and advice on the Gilmore deal. I'll be dropping by your office at noon. I know you have no plans at that time because of your same old boring routine. Hank couldn't help but frown. And what do you mean by same old boring routine? I suppose you don't really need my help after all. Go find someone else. Daniel's tone shifted to serious. Hey H, that was a joke, okay? Geez, you can't take a simple joke. By the way, I have something else to discuss when I come to your office. He quickly said goodbye and ended the call. He knew Hank was not one for a little chit-chat. Hank was a bit amazed at his cousin. He chuckled to himself. This guy is indeed crazy. He keeps acting as though I'm his lover. How did I end up with this clown as a cousin? He dropped the newspaper and called his assistant. Gina, ask Asher to get the car ready. We need to stop by the florist before heading to the office. After ending the call, he walked out of his penthouse. Asher was already waiting by the door. Good morning, sir, Asher greeted him. Hank nodded and got into his Rolls-Royce Rose Noir drop-tail luxury car. He was a man of few words, speaking only when necessary. He started working on his computer as they drove. When they arrived at the florist, he stepped out of the car, dressed in a well-tailored gray suit and gold-rimmed oval glasses. As he entered the floral shop, 4 ladies and 2 men who had come to purchase flowers stopped their conversations and stared in stunned silence. Everyone's attention turned to him. He walked majestically to the lady at the reception and spoke in a deep voice. Greetings. Please, I would like you to deliver a bouquet made up of pink peonies and white lotus. The lady at the reception, captivated by his handsome face, stood mesmerized, having not heard a word he said. Did you hear what I said, miss? Hank asked, raising an eyebrow. Snapping out of her trance, she replied, Sorry, sir. You said pink peonies and white lotus, right? Hank nodded, scribbling down an address on a piece of paper. Deliver it to this address. He had never admired women who lusted after his physical features, and such attention greatly annoyed him. He paid the lady and walked out of the shop. One of the ladies inside exclaimed, Oh my goodness! Did you see that man? Who is he? God definitely created this man on a special day. His girlfriend or wife should be so lucky. If I had a man like him, I would never take my eyes off him. The other women agreed enthusiastically. Upon arriving at his office, Hank went straight to his desk to work. Gina walked in and read through his schedule. Boss, I have the information you requested. We've finally identified who tried to hurt you back in Greenville. As she spoke, she placed a brown envelope on his desk. He nodded, indicating for her to continue. They were Randy Barkley's men. Hank clenched his fists at the mention of that name. That asshole hasn't learned his lesson yet. He clearly doesn't appreciate the leniency I showed him. He took out his phone and made a call, his voice icy and dangerous. I want Wiesel Corp stocks in Asia down before tomorrow morning. Randy Barkley had taken over his father's company as the CEO of Wiesel Corp, the same company that had swindled Fitzwilliam Group, leading them to file for bankruptcy. After successfully rebuilding Fitzwilliam Group into one of the top 5 companies globally, Hank descended on Vercel Corp like a raging typhoon, destroying Vizsla Corp's markets in America and Europe. With no other options, Vizsla Corp had shifted their markets to Asia and Australia, struggling to survive. No company associated with Fitzwilliam Group dared to collaborate with them, as Hank's wrath was known to be devastating. At noon, Daniel arrived at Fitzwilliam Group to see Hank. When he walked in, Hank was on the phone with his Russian partners. Being multilingual and a divergent thinker, Hank wrapped up his call, then asked, "So D, what do you need my advice on regarding the Gilmore deal?" Daniel pulled out a stack of papers from his suitcase. "H, you know how the French operate. Gilmore is a sly fox. He could rip you off if you're not careful. I need your advice on how to deal with him." Hank took a deep breath. "Gilmore is indeed a sly fox, as you said. He'll use your weaknesses against you. Pay close attention to your collaborators. He usually uses yours against you." Daniel nodded, gratitude shining in his eyes. "Thanks, H. I knew I could always count on you." Suddenly, Daniel's eyes widened as if he had remembered something important. He had a broad smile plastered on his face. "H, remember I told you about the kind, beautiful lady I met at the mall 6 months ago? She actually works in my office now as the new intern and is even more beautiful. I was thinking we could invite her over for lunch so you can get to know her." Hank, who had been focusing on his laptop, raised his deep blue eyes to meet Daniel's. "D, I'm not interested in any woman you have in mind. I've told you this many times. Stop wasting your time on this." Daniel's voice grew a bit sharper. "Hank, when will you move on from Alexandra? It's been over 8 years already. You need to reclaim your life. And that mountain fairy, it's been more than 6 months with no news. Just move on already." Hank's fists clenched in fury as he shot Daniel a fierce look. "Never mention that name again." Realizing his cousin was angry, Daniel softened his tone. "Listen, I'm sorry. I just can't watch you torture yourself like this. You deserve to love and be loved again. Anyway, it's Friday and it's been ages since we visited our trio kebab spot." When Hank's father was alive, he would take Hank and Daniel to a famous kebab place in central London owned by an old friend. Their visits formed a bond between the 3 of them, but since Hank's father passed, they seldom went. The few times they did, they would reminisce about their time together. Hank pinched the bridge of his nose, his patience wearing thin. "Fine, we'll go there later this evening." Daniel's eyes sparkled with excitement. "That's why I love you, Hank." His voice was high-pitched with enthusiasm. Hank felt like he might pass out from Daniel's energy. "You, Daniel, that's so cringe." With a grin on his face, Daniel left the office. Maximilian Holdings, Chelsea and her teammates had just finished work for the day. "Hey, Chelsea. What are your plans for the weekend?" "Cleopatra, Ruben, and I are going for kebabs and street karaoke later. Want to join us?" Erica asked. Chelsea, having no friends in London and not having gone out since moving there, nodded. "Sure, Erica. I'm in." The group packed their things and set out for their night. Arriving in central London, they enjoyed some street food in a bustling alley filled with people celebrating the weekend. "Girls, who's up for some street karaoke?" Ruben asked. Cleopatra, with her raspy voice, said, "Y'all can go without me. With this Mama OD kind of voice that I have, I am sure if I should sing, this place will be deserted in no time." Chelsea couldn't help but laugh out loud. She jumped up. "Let's go sing, Ruben." They approached the karaoke machine operator and each handed him £2 for a song. Chelsea took the mic and began singing her favorite tune, "I'll Be Right Here Waiting for You." Meanwhile, Hank and Daniel were sitting in a corner, dressed in hoodies to avoid recognition and enjoy a peaceful moment. Suddenly, Hank paused mid-bite and exclaimed, "That voice, that song! Where is it coming from?" He remembered hearing Chelsea sing that song the day they spent at Mount Halo. Could it be the mountain fairy? Is she here? Hank whispered to himself. Daniel, mildly confused, asked, "Hey H, what's going on? Why do you look like you've seen a ghost?" Just then the song ended and Hank asked, "D, do you know where that song is coming from?" Daniel scratched his head. "It should be coming from the karaoke box at the end of the street. When did you start caring about singing? Are you trying to audition for Britain's Got Talent?" Ignoring him, Hank dashed to the karaoke machine. Meeting the operator, he asked, "Excuse me, sir, where's the person who just sang?" The man looked at him as if he were out of his mind. "Sir, many people have sung today. If you're talking about the last singer, she already left." Hank's frustration mounted. "Can you please describe this person? It is really important to me." The man shot him a look that said he was insane. "Look, young man, it's not my job to describe people. If you don't want to sing, please step aside. Others are waiting to use the machine. Have a good evening." Standing there frustrated, Daniel rushed up behind Hank. "H, what's going on? Why did you run off like that?" "I think I heard the mountain fairy singing. I recognize her voice and I know she sang that song just like the girl did." "I can't be mistaken," Hank insisted. Daniel shook his head in disbelief. "Oh my goodness. Is this the reason why you sprinted here like Usain Bolt?" Daniel scoffed. "The great Hank Fitzwilliam has finally lost it. Do you really like this fairy girl so much that you've started imagining hearing her? Let's just go home, mate." Hank shot him a stern glare. "I'm not imagining anything. I heard her." While they debated, a voice called to them. "Mr. Maximilian? Is that really you?" Turning, Daniel spotted Erica, Reuben, and Cleopatra. Recognizing Erica from previous presentations, he responded, "Miss Langley, you're here too." Erica, with a smile, replied, "Yes, sir. Our team is out having fun. Chelsea is here with us too, but she just went to the ladies' room." Daniel glanced at Hank and remarked, "Ladies, meet my cousin Hank." Before he could finish, Hank walked away, silent and unbothered. Daniel couldn't tolerate Hank's indifference. He bade the team farewell and followed Hank. Cleopatra stood there, stunned, as if struck by lightning. When Chelsea returned, she asked, "What did I miss? Why does Cleopatra look like she's seen a ghost?" Cleopatra regained her voice. "Chelsea, you just missed the most handsome man that has ever lived. The stories about Mr. Maximilian's cousin are true. God crafted that man. I'm in love." Cleopatra beamed as she placed both hands on her chest with eyes closed. Chelsea laughed lightly and asked, "Erica, what's she talking about?" Erica replied, "We just met Mr. Maximilian. He was with his cousin, the famous Hank Fitzwilliam." "That man is everything, Chelsea." Chelsea rolled her eyes. "All right, everyone, I'm ready to go home. I need some rest. Thanks for inviting me and see you all on Monday." And with that, she left. Will Chelsea and Hank continue to miss each other's paths? Or will they finally meet? Hank rushed back to his car after leaving Daniel and his staff at the kebab spot. Just before he could enter the car, Daniel ran up and caught him. While breathing like a fish out of water, Daniel said annoyingly, "Hank, sometimes I don't know what's wrong with you. You act like you're a robot or some alien from space. Why did you walk away without saying hello to my staff? That was so rude, you know. When did you change this much and became so heartless?" Hank merely looked at Daniel and said nothing. Since he hadn't taken his driver, Asher, he entered his car and drove away without glancing back or saying anything to Daniel. Daniel stood there, perplexed. Huh? This Hank is crazy. He has finally gone bananas. I'm sure it's the lack of intimacy making him act like someone from a zoo. So arrogant, Daniel muttered under his breath, his expression angry. Through a while out with Daniel, Hank finally returned to his penthouse. He kept thinking about the voice he had heard in the alley. I know that was the mountain fairy. I'm 100% certain she was the one singing. Hank went into his bathroom, took a quick shower, and then returned to his study. He sat in his chair and stared at the ceiling. After a deep sigh, he opened one of his drawers and pulled out a small box. Inside was Chelsea's necklace, the floral scarf, and the black thong Daniel had placed in it. He took out the necklace and held it up like a trophy. Where could you really be, Mountain Fairy? I know you're here. But how and where will I find you? As he spoke, he ran his fingers through his soft, lush, dark brown hair. Just then, his phone started ringing. It was Grandma Julia. Hey, Nana, he answered, his tone low and his voice a little raspy. My sweet Hanky, you always know how to make me so happy. I know those flowers earlier came from you. You've indeed taken after your grandfather. You will be such a loving, caring, and romantic husband. Hank couldn't help but smile. Come on, Nana, you don't have to exaggerate. I know Grandpa was the love of your life, and he would normally do more than this. I just wanted to put a smile on your face, since I won't be seeing you for over 3 weeks. When Grandma Julia heard this, she asked, Hanky, why won't I be seeing you for 3 weeks? Are you going somewhere? Hank sighed again. Nana, I'll be traveling to New York on Sunday for a business trip. I'll be there for 3 weeks. But don't worry, Daniel will be around to take care of you while I'm gone. If you need anything or miss me too much, we can always talk over the phone. They chatted for a few more minutes before ending the call. Hank loved his grandmother more than anyone else in the world. After his mom died when he was 13, he was practically raised by his father and grandmother. He didn't really miss his mom because Grandma Julia had moved in with them and filled that maternal space with love and compassion. Making sure she was happy and content was his top priority. Hank put the necklace back in the box, went to his room, and fell asleep. The weekend passed and Monday arrived. Chelsea got to work quite early and started her day. A few minutes later, Erica and Cleopatra walked in looking bubbly. Hey, Chelsea. Good morning. Hope your weekend was amazing, Erica asked. Chelsea smiled warmly. Greetings, Erica. My weekend was amazing. Thank you for inviting me out on Friday. I had lots of fun. When Cleopatra heard Chelsea mention the previous Friday, she exclaimed, Oh my gosh! Will I ever see my Prince Charming, Mr. Fitzwilliam, again? She pouted dramatically. Erica and Chelsea burst out laughing. Come on, Cleopatra. Just wake up and smell the coffee. That guy wouldn't even look at you. Wait, have you transitioned from liking Mr. Daniel to liking his cousin, Mr. Henry? Cleopatra rolled her eyes. Well, since Mr. Fitzwilliam is single and such a hottie, I might cross the carpet to him. Nicole, who had been eavesdropping on their conversation, snapped back. Can you all just shut up already? It's too early to start gossiping and being a nuisance. No one paid attention to her, acting as though she wasn't in the room. She was ignored like an unwanted stale bread. Cole grew frustrated and focused on her computer. It had been a busy morning for everyone at Maximilian Holdings, as they prepared to sign a major contract with Gilmore Enterprises. Most of the executives were busy in their respective departments. Daniel, along with Douglas Lampard, his French translator, and their company lawyers, went through the contract one last time. Gilmore Enterprises and Maximilian Holdings were set to sign a collaboration for the TransUnion project, which cost about £800 million. This was one of the highest contracts Maximilian Holdings had ever signed, and Daniel was determined to ensure everything went smoothly. Douglas, I hope everything with the translation is perfect, Daniel asked with a stern expression. Sir, everything is perfect and ready to go. We just need to sign the contract and get it over with, Douglas replied confidently. Daniel took a deep breath. We still have 3 hours before Gilmore and his team arrive. He instructed his lawyers and Douglas to return to their offices. It was midday and the staff were on break. Most of them had gone to the canteen to eat. Chelsea wasn't feeling hungry and decided to find a quiet place to call her older brother Lionel, since it had been a while. She went to the stairwell and sat on one of the steps. Just as she was about to place a call, she suddenly heard someone speaking in French in a low tone. Hey, make sure you don't mess up on your end and stick to the agreement. As for me, I've ensured Daniel will not find out about the added clause in Section 5. Since the contract will be in both French and English, I altered the French document. He won't find out until we hit him. The man chuckled softly before ending the call. Chelsea, who had been listening, covered her mouth to stifle a gasp. She stood up, quietly walked out of the stairwell and rushed back to her office. Once at her desk, she couldn't fathom what she had heard. So, Mr. Lampard is plotting against Daniel? Jesus Christ. What should I do now? Chelsea thought, her face tense. Ruben returned from lunch with Erica. Noticing the distressed look on Chelsea's face, they asked, Chelsea, are you okay? Why do you look so upset? Chelsea shook her head. Nothing is wrong. I just have a little headache. I took some pain relievers and feel better now. Please excuse me for a minute. I need to use the ladies' room. She walked out and went to the bathroom. Standing in front of the mirror, she said to herself, I have to tell Mr. Maximilian. I can't watch someone destroy another person's hard work. Chelsea had never been one to sit down and do nothing, especially when someone's future was at stake. She had been a victim of that several times and wouldn't wish that on anyone. She took a deep breath, stormed out of the bathroom, and took the lift to the 10th floor. When she arrived, Daniel's secretary stopped her. Do you have an appointment? No, ma'am, but it's really important I see the boss now. It's urgent, Chelsea insisted. The secretary narrowed her eyes. Listen, Miss Powers, so many women come here every day wanting to see Mr. Maximilian under the pretense of having something important to tell him. If you're a friend, you should have his contact, or if not, book an appointment. Chelsea felt frustrated. Listen, ma'am, if I don't get to see him now, things will go south for him, and you might wish you had let me in. The secretary glared. If you don't leave now, I will call security. As her voice rose, Daniel's personal assistant, Merlin, heard the commotion and came outside. What's going on here? The Merlin asked sternly. The secretary glanced at Gina and said, Mr. Merlin, this woman came here wanting to see the boss. I asked if she had an appointment and she said no. So I told her to leave or book an appointment, but she insisted on seeing him. Chelsea, her frustration apparent, said, Thank God you're here, Mr. Merlin. I really need to see Mr. Maximilian. It's a matter of urgency. It has to do with the Gilmore contract signing this afternoon. When Merlin heard this, he raised his eyebrows. How did you know about the Gilmore contract? Only top executives know about this. Anyway, follow me. Chelsea followed him into Daniel's office. The secretary glared at Chelsea with disdain before murmuring to herself, That bitch! Who does she think she is? Daniel was on the phone when Merlin and Chelsea entered. Surprised to see her, he told the person on the line he would call back later. Hey, Chelsea. What brings you here? So nice to see you. Hope everything is okay, he said with a warm smile. Chelsea shook her head. Mr. Maximilian, all is not well. You're being drawn into a trap. Can you please bring the Gilmore contract you have prepared, especially the one written in French? Daniel's expression shifted to fury. How did you know about the contract? Chelsea took a deep breath and explained everything she had overheard, detailing how Douglas Lampard was conniving with the Gilmores to swindle him. How did you even understand what he was saying? Daniel asked. Chelsea looked at him, a trace of disappointment in her eyes. Mr. Daniel, with all due respect, I wouldn't come here and raise such allegations without cause. To answer your question, I am half French. I was born and raised in France, so French is actually my first language. Daniel raised his eyebrows in surprise. Wow, I didn't know that. I'm sorry if I raised my voice at you. I was just surprised you know something that's meant to be classified information. His expression softened and he pulled out the prepared French contract, handing it to Chelsea. She opened it and went straight to Section 5. Sir, this clause here in Section 5 states that upon completion of the TransUnion project, 80% of Maximilian Holdings market shares will be handed over to Gilmore Enterprises. When Daniel heard this, he couldn't hold in the rage building inside him. He slammed his hand on the table, cursing under his breath. Screw you, Douglas! Gilmore is indeed a sly fox. He laughed haughtily, recalling Hank's warning to be cautious of his close collaborators. He took out his phone and called Hank. When Hank answered, Daniel asked, can we please talk? What will happen to the Gilmore contract that is supposed to be signed that afternoon? Will Daniel blame Douglas for betraying him and their company, or will he use it against Gilmore Enterprises? To find out what happens next on the series, keep listening to Unappreciated Treasure.